Good afternoon, ma'am. It's an honor to meet you. So, according to Article 5 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which I know you're very knowledgeable in, it states that no one should be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. However, I have seen, and there are many traditions that defy these rights, such as the female genital mutilation, and clearly these traditions are contradicting and are against the Declaration, and I want to know if the UN acknowledges them as culture or takes action to defend human rights.
So you give a very good example. So there's the right to culture, there's the right to not be tortured. In the example you give, it's definitely not acceptable in anyone's culture. And anyone who says that's a cultural thing, I think, needs to take a second look. I mean, I might say my culture is cutting off someone's right hand, but that doesn't make it acceptable. I worked, when I started working for the UN, maybe, I know, I'm not going to say how many years ago, but I started working for the UN. I worked in Liberia, where this was a very big problem. Girls were taken into the woods, spent a couple of months, and they came back and they've been mutilated. Only last week or the week before, the current president of Liberia signed a law outlawing this. And, you know, so we were working on this for the United Nations, you know, a couple of years ago now, but maybe 15, 20 years ago. And we were doing a couple of things. We were, one, going out to communities and talking to them about why this is not a good practice and how you can do things differently. So it's things like, things we were saying was if you're going to have some kind of ritual to symbolize that girls have reached womanhood, that's fine. Many cultures do. Almost every culture does. But maybe instead of cutting them up, you could give them a red sweater. I don't know, but something different, right? So there are ways, culture is something that's always changing. And there are ways that you can actually make that change happen in a positive way. And at the same time, we also said if there are people who are really doing these things, they need to be held accountable, because girls and women are really suffering. No, in that particular case, it's very clear. There are other cases where it becomes more complicated. In Europe, where I'm from, we have big discussions about wearing a Muslim veil. Are you allowed to do that in public or not? Is that freedom of religion, or is it oppressing women? And sometimes those kinds of questions become very, very difficult to answer, and you have to sort of balance what's the more important issue. So maybe being totally covered and being required to only have, but maybe wearing a little scarf is okay. So sometimes it's also about balancing those considerations.
Thank you for your time. I hope you get better too.